Croeso, hello, welcome to Rob, Ryan, Red, the Wrexham podcast brought to you in association with Red 10 People Development. On today's podcast, we will react to the Championship fixtures, bring you the news of a Premier League player Wrexham are keeping an eye on, and we will also talk about Paul Mullin. He's finally left Wrexham on loan. We will react to that exit and more on today's show.
Rob, Ryan, Red.
Well, Nath, it all feels a lot more real now. We knew Wrexham had been promoted to the Championship, but we finally had the fixtures released. Apologies for the slight delay with this week's podcast, but we wanted to get our reaction to that and the Carabao Cup draw on the show. And Nath, just looking through that fixture list, it's really dawned on me what a challenge we've got on our hands.
Yeah, well, firstly, I just wanted to say that if anyone's watching on YouTube or listening, I am still in Slovakia. I can't get out of here. I'm stuck in this country because the Euros are still going on. And I think seeing the fixtures made me desperate. You know what it was, Rich? When I saw the fixtures, I was wishing the summer away, which is bad, I know, because there's a lot of exciting things going to come in the summer, pre-season tour and all these other things. But seeing those fixtures, you just think, oh, can it just hurry up and get back to the, I'm already rushing to get to like Swansea in December, which is just ridiculous. But yes, very excited. Very, I don't know, pleased, is that the right word? I actually think it's quite a daunting schedule from the off anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those where the cynic in me wants to say we've got to play them all at some point. It doesn't bloody matter what when they come out. But you then start looking at the calendar, and I think maybe from a journalistic point of view, we usually have to do sort of edgy stories of this is the favourable run in the season, and it really looks hard because you judge these teams on their past reputation, I think. And a few weeks ago, I was looking at last season's championship table, and there was 6 or 7 teams where I thought, we'll finish ahead of them. But now I'm sort of seeing us as little old Wrexham, the underdogs that, some sections of the media might portray us as when the fixtures come out. And yeah, I've gone from being very optimistic about our chances to feeling slightly negative, but not in a bad way whatsoever. I think for me, Nath, look, we all want to get to the Premier League, but there has also got to be an acceptance. This might be as good as it gets. We haven't been in the Championship for over 40 years. What's to say we just have one season at it and that's the way it goes? And I think that's the kind of attitude I want to have going into the season. Not in a negative sense, but more, hey, this is the golden period. Let's just enjoy this. We might get one crack at this. I want to go to as many games as I can. I want to embrace it all. And look, we'll do our proper predictions later in the summer. But let's just enjoy it, man. Look at all of those games. I'm excited to watch every single one.
Before I sort of give my opinion, I just want you to qualify there what you mean by enjoying it. Does that mean it sort of, if Wrexham go back down, it doesn't really matter? Are you saying it's like a free hit season? Sort of just, it is what it is? Or are you saying that, there is still pressure to perform? Do you know what I mean? Because I've got a slightly different opinion, but I want you to kind of just qualify what you mean when you say enjoy it.
I mean, I'd bite your hand off for 21st now. 20th, sorry. Do you know what I mean? I just want to stay up. I don't care what happens. I just want Wrexham to still be in the Championship next season. And look, it's going to be tougher, I think. You look at the money being spent by the likes of Birmingham. You look at the teams who've just been relegated. And then we're playing Coventry, Blackburn, teams who've just been in around the playoffs and just missed out as well. So it's really, really tough league, and teams who have maybe a lot more experience than we give credit for. So from my point of view, I just want to enjoy the ride, see whatever happens. And Wrexham are in the Championship. I know that given the owners we have, and there'll be lofty ambitions to go and do it again. And we sort of said that the table is quite open. I think there's an opportunity for a team to go and take advantage of the playing field. I think Birmingham are doing that. I'm saying it now, they'll be top 2 next season, in my opinion. I think they're going straight up to the Premier League. I really do. And I don't want us to be put in the bracket of them, because they're a completely different case to us. We might have got promoted from the same league at the same time, but hey, if they're flying high, don't worry about that. Just enjoy it. We're going to these amazing places. So many teams we've never played in competitive league matches before. Like, just enjoy it, whatever happens. And hey, wherever we are next season, I'll still be there following us. So it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to enjoy it as much as I can. Why don't you agree?
No, I will enjoy enjoying it is crucial because we've had so many years in the doldrums, right? 15 years in the National League, and only sort of the back end of that and that 98-point season were enjoyable, right? So enjoying it is crucial. But I think I saw a little bit of rhetoric online after the fixtures that that this is essentially just it's free hit after free hit because it's Southampton, because it's Leicester, because it's Sheffield United, because it's Sheffield Wednesday. But you can go to any of these teams, right? They're all big teams with great histories. I really hope, and I know they will, but I hope, and I hope the fan base, two things, that there's a sort of a leveling out of expectation, which I think there will be as it goes on. There will be games where Wrexham get hit for 5 or 4 or, comprehensively beaten, right? But Wrexham are there on merit. So it's not a sort of cereal box competition or an FA Cup. Every game isn't the third round of the FA Cup. And I know I was listening to the Fearless lads before, and that's where I differed with what they were saying, because they were saying that they felt like it was like, sort of like it had a cup feel to the fixture list. And I would really sort of advise against that mindset, because Wrexham deserve to be there, right? Like, they've had 3 successive promotions, might have been quicker than some people thought. But at the end of the day, the facts are the facts. They got there. They deserve to be there. They'll strengthen and build what they believe is a competitive championship side. We both know that. We had the chairman on, Rich. We know that they're ambitious and want to be top half, want to be playoffs, want to be top 2. And whether that takes 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it takes, we all sort of think that it's trending in the direction of the Premier League. But I just kind of want to warn against this idea that as much as they're great days out and we're going to have an absolute blast going on all these away days, we deserve to be there. They're on merit.
Yeah, and I would also caveat that with, I think it's very easy to look at these teams that have got a big reputation and just automatically think they're better than us. I think I was guilty of that last season, where I was like, well, there's no way we're going to finish above Bolton, Huddersfield, maybe even teams like Rotherham and Barnsley. And then you actually look at them as individual cases, and you're like, of course we should be better than them. We've got, better momentum. Our squad's really well built. We don't have that uncertainty off the pitch. And I think a prime example of that is third game of the season against Sheffield Wednesday. That kind of reminds me of Reading at home this season just gone, where, look, we're playing a massive team, but Sheffield Wednesday are a club in crisis at the moment. The manager's about to walk away on the eve of the season. They've obviously got all the financial issues. And, I also look at the championship tale from last season. I think some of these teams will improve. I think Swansea are one of them. But it's from is it maybe about 14th down to 20th, the sort of teams that survived. I think, well, we'll finish above 3 or 4 of them because we've got the momentum. And again, I think there's a bracket of teams in the championship whose sole purpose is almost just not to get relegated rather than to try and go up. So I think there's a lot of teams who just want to try and have, as we've said in the past, that sort of stability and, sort of compromise for a season. Whereas I think we don't have that. We've got the momentum, we've got the winning belief. So yeah, like I said, I would be happy with just avoiding relegation on the final day, but I do think we'll be sort of mid-table-ish anyway, because I think we've got so much going for us. We're going to invest heavily. We're going to invest wisely, as we've seen with Ryan Hardy. And I guess, Nath, now that we've gone around the houses, haven't we? We're addressing the issue sort of head on, that there might be some people listening who do need a reminder of the fixture list. And Southampton away on the opening day, nice ring to it there, I must say. We have to play them at some point. It's a bloody long trip by UK standards. I know some of our American listeners might be saying, and our Australian listeners, oh, what, you've got to drive 4 hours? Southampton away, a midday kickoff though, the lunchtime one. That is welcome to Wrexham. Maybe is that the price of success?
That is a humdinger of an opener, though, isn't it? Ex-Premier League team. I know that it's a randomised fixture sort of calendar, and yet the 2 teams that come up, the big draws, Birmingham, Wrexham, both get teams relegated from the Premier League. So you make your own mind up how random the fixture generator, the fixture computer is. I'm just a little bit surprised we're not the first game on of the season, the first championship game of the season. That's Birmingham Ipswich. But yeah, Southampton, a great test. And to be honest, yes, you play everyone twice, as you said, Rich, but would you rather play a Southampton team that's just come down? They've got a new manager in place. They'll still be trying to get used to what Will still is asking, game one or game 31, right? Like what would you rather? And whichever way it is, you could make a case, couldn't you, that if you played them later, they might have injuries, they might be in a bad run, the manager might be gone, yada yada yada. And if you don't, you play them first, you can always say, well, if you play them first, you might catch them a little bit cold. Is there any hangover from the relegation, etc.? I don't think there will. I rate Will still very highly from his time in France, and Ivan Juric is long gone, is back at Atalanta. But yeah, that's a humdinger of a game, albeit one that I feel like. No, let's keep it positive, because let's not get into how we feel like games might go right now. But yeah, I think that'll be a sort of welcome to the league with a bump, but one that we're playing a Premier League team that just earned 109 million quid for finishing bottom of the league. So that there's levels to it, and we're about to find them out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd always rather play. It kind of works in our favour that we're one of the more, media darlings of the league, I suppose, because you're going to play a big game early on, and we've got a few big games right at the start. And I'd always rather get them out of the way before teams have got momentum, they've got into their rhythm. There's so many sort of notable examples I think of in the past. I think of the season after Leicester won the Premier League, they had Hull City on the opening day. I think Hull City had a transfer embargo. Mike Phelan was manager. Hull City won 2-1. Leicester were heavy favourites to win that game and blow them away. Hull won. I look back to, and this will sound ridiculous, Pep Guardiola's first league game in charge of Barcelona famously lost to Numancia. Is it Numancia? Or Numancia, they're probably called. Lost 1-0 away. They hadn't got any. They got a new manager in. The team wasn't gelling yet. They obviously go on to win the league, but things just hadn't gelled whatsoever. And I think that's the same for us. I'm happy to have Southampton straight away, because the pressure is all on them to win that game. They're the Premier League team. And I know we're going to have a lot of our own self-confidence, but the pressure is all on them to win, to get a first competitive win under a new manager. So, yeah, I'm happy to get out of the way. Not sure I'm going to be so happy if I'm waking up at 6 or 7 a.m. to drive down to the match. We then get not only a double header at home, we actually get a triple header at home, Nath, because the Carabao Cup draw has also been made. Hull City at home. Wrexham put out a video earlier in the day before the fixtures were released. Ryan Longman said he was most looking forward to playing Hull City next season. He gets to welcome them to the racecourse. And yeah, it's crazy that that's just a championship fixture now.
Yeah, well, firstly, Ryan Longman's haircut, he looks like he's sort of an extra in Green Street. He looks mega tough now. I've realised that I don't even, what would you call it, a fade all over? No, a buzz cut, whatever it is. He looks tough as nails now, Ryan Longman, which I'm very much all for. A friend of mine, good friend of mine, is a Hull City fan, and she's been desperate to get to Wrexham, get us in the cups, when we were in League Two and League One, even in the conference, could we get each other in an FA Cup or whatever? And we've got them 3 times in a season, finally waited years to get them, and they're all in midweek. So she is consequently devastated. But yeah, to be honest, selfishly, we'll get onto Mullin later, but I did kind of want a reunion with Wigan in the Carabao Cup, just purely for narrative purposes, as the journalist within me. But Hull City, good game, and they were one of those struggling teams, right? You mentioned those kind of 6 teams, so I guess really that would be quite a good early test of, let's just see how you stack up. Southampton, I would expect will be right up there. Hull less so. So be sort of getting 2 extremes, if you will, in those early weeks.
Yeah, really fascinating to see. And we're not going to talk you through every single fixture because that is dull listening and it's not very good for a visual thing. If you go and watch on YouTube, by the way, we will have some graphics on the screen, so it's not just myself and Nate rambling too much. I think that's a really interesting opening month. They've got, like I said, Southampton, just league games now. Southampton away, West Brom and Sheffield Wednesday at home, Millwall away. I still think, you can win maybe 2 of those matches. I really do think that just our home forms will be so imperative next season. I wouldn't surprise me if we managed to get positive results in both of them. September gets tricky as well. QPR at home the day after my birthday, as I said on our live stream. Thank you as well to anyone who tuned into a very impromptu live stream. I was just during work, and I was like, should we just do one? And Nath was You were in a cafe, weren't you, in
Yeah,
Slovakia? So you couldn't join us.
I was between hotels, so I was not on that, and that might be more reason for you to go back and tune in. I don't know, but I was not on it. It was just Rich holding fort.
Yeah, so QPR the day after my birthday. I will say it for a third time now. Away games that month: Norwich and Leicester. They both sound absolutely grueling, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, Norwich are my kind of sneaky pick. For Liam Manning gone there, Harry Darling gone there. I think they'll be really, really good. And yeah, Carrow Road, having been there, I used to go there when I was sort of a football reporter in London, Rich. I used to go there doing championship games. And the running joke at Norwich was that they would always score in stoppage time. Like they would always get that match winning goal late in stoppage time, and so you'd be writing these match reports, and they'd all be in ruins. You'd know it's getting to the 93rd minute, and you know they're going to score. But yeah, you'd have to be prepared anyway, and then they would score. So I've got painful memories, even though I wasn't supporting a team. I've got painful memories going to Norwich. So hopefully I can change this season.
I think that's being billed in the media anyways. The Anthony Spyro derby, even this early in the summer. So October is an interesting one for me. Birmingham at home is the first game. I think I'm going to say it, 3 winnable games. Stoke away, Oxford at home, and Middlesbrough away. Middlesbrough is a very tough place to go, but I think they're one of the bigger teams we might have a chance against next season, personally.
What's Middlesbrough famous for? Is it the Parmo? Is that what it's
Parmo,
called?
yeah. Deep
What
fried chicken with cheese and some marinara sauce on top. Bloody brilliant, mate.
I don't know if any sort of listener outside the UK has ever either heard of a Parmo or had one, if they exist elsewhere in the world. I've never had one. I don't know if I'm going to get to Middlesbrough away, but if we do, Rich, both of us or one of us has got to try and get a Parmo,
Oh,
surely,
yeah.
for that game.
Incredible food. Absolutely incredible. Just pure cholesterol. It's amazing. November, it's also worth noting as well, you've got international breaks built into the schedule now. So when you look at the first 3 months of the season, they actually look a bit light fixture wise. Trust me, more than made up for when you get into the winter. November, December, and January. If we start with November, then Coventry at home. Again, one of those surreal fixtures that's gone from a massive FA Cup upset to just another league match. Pompey away midweek, and I think that's maybe a running theme, isn't it? If you mentioned the Hull games being away being midweekers, Portsmouth in midweek. That random computer's not been kind to us, has it?
No, the random computer clearly does not want Wrexham fans going to Fratton Park. And also, I don't know whether they still are, but they were Disney affiliated. They might still be Portsmouth, in fairness, but they have been Disney affiliated. So you can imagine that one would have been one in the boardrooms that. And also, I saw Ryan Hardy say that he's got a brilliant record there. I haven't got the record in front of me, but he said that he's got a great record
Yeah,
at Portsmouth.
amazing.
So if he's going to come through for us more often than not, let's hope he saves some for that grueling midweek trip to Pompey.
Where he'll get a very hostile reception. November sees us also play Charlton at home, a repeat of Promotion Day. Then, a game which I think will certainly be moved for TV, Ipswich away. You mentioned it before we recorded, Nath. Ed Sheeran and Ryan Reynolds having a nice reminisce, chatting about football. That's got to be on TV. Friday night?
That's got to be under the lights, and that's got to be one of the first ones that Welcome to Wrexham circled. That and Birmingham away, I would think they were all over. Ed Sheeran, very pally with Taylor Swift. You know what? My sister was chatting about the fixtures, and she's got to get to a game eventually. I know it's a security logistical nightmare, but I think
Taylor
if there's
Swift.
Taylor Swift. My sister's been to plenty, unfortunately. I've dragged her to Doncaster away and Accrington away and various other places. But Taylor Swift, I'm convinced that she's got to get to a game outside the Premier League. Like, she'll get there eventually, even though it's a security and logistical nightmare. And part of me wonders, maybe Ipswich at home, which I know is later in the season, but Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran, Ryan Reynolds, Ron McElhenney, all in a box for a championship game, maybe.
My only gripe with that is, where was she at Swindon away? Do you know what I mean? I feel like having these massive A-listers almost loses its appeal the further up the pyramid we go. Like, that always Sunnycast were there for Yeovil. Like, guys, these people have put in the hard yards. You've had your chance. Now don't jump on the bandwagon. Now we're in the Championship. Hey, A-listers, you should have been there. You should have been there. Bristol City and Blackburn as well at home in November. We then go into December, which again is another one of those months where we're playing a lot of the teams that you just think will be not in the, maybe they'll be flirting with the playoffs. They won't maybe be troubled by relegation. You got Preston away early December, Hull City away, as you mentioned, Nave. Then Watford, Swansea, Sheffield United, and Preston again. I think that's a relatively more comfortable run. I think there's some winnable games in there, even at this early stage.
I mean, I would beg to differ sort of extremely, actually, because I think Sheffield United. I know a lot of people hate that appointment. I've said it before on the podcast. I think Ruben Sellers is a great manager. I think that's a great appointment. I think he was ridiculously sacked at Hull, and I've actually met the Hull City owner before. Nice chat, but I think far too irrational when it comes to managers and sacking them. Hence, look at Liam Rossigna having a great time in France now with Strasbourg, I think it is. So I think Sellers unfairly sacked by Hull. He's gone to Sheffield United. Maybe Chris Wilder was there, got 92 points, didn't go up, got beat in the playoff final. Kiefer Moore makes the mistake, and now you're out of a job. So we'll see, but they always invest well. They always get great loans, Sheffield United. It's a massive club. Great needle between the fan bases, even if they play it down. Boxing Day, we've had some great games at Boxing Day. We've mentioned Salford in the past, Rich, and there are others. Even more recently, it was the fog of Blackpool, right? The Stephen Fletcher penalty and the Mullin goal of the season. So we've had some great Boxing Day games. Always good to be at home on Boxing Day. And Swansea City, I mean, they could be another sneaky team. They're recruiting well. Luka Modric, is he going to be sort of helping us do our Christmas shopping? But I don't know what's going on. It's that's a long old trip before Christmas. But again, it's been, I think, 23 years, someone said, since we played Swansea last, I think. Something like that, 20 plus years. So again, I actually think that month, I think it's going to be freezing cold and we are going to be up against it, which for all the people that will slag off Parky's football, I'm not saying Wrexham fans, but just all the fans that will slag off Parky's football throughout the season, it's built for the winter, lads. So I think we'll be all right. That attritional football will come through for us.
And we might need it in early January as well. Blackburn and Derby away in quick succession. Of course, we had that FA Cup tie against Blackburn, a year ago, wasn't it? Sort of 18 months ago or so, Andy Cannon's goal at Ewood Park. Norwich City and Leicester both at home in January before two more away trips. QPR and Sheffield Wednesday, two of the aways I've been looking forward to the most, actually. I've always wanted to do Loftus Road in the upper tier. Sheffield Wednesday, not the most enjoyable away stand at all, probably the worst in the country to go to. But Sheffield's a great city to be in. And that'll be a really, good game to be at. February, Millwall, Bristol City, Ipswich, Pompey, and Charlton Athletic. It is so hard, isn't it, this time of year, Nave, to pick up the games which will be the easier ones. Any joy there for you in the winter?
Any joy in the winter? I mean, look, any game against Ipswich, I think will be great billing. I've got a friend of mine who covers Ipswich, so that's always. And for me, spoiler alert, they are my title favourite right now. At this moment, that might change by the time we do our championship predictions. That's always a good game. And for me, it's just trying to tick off grounds that haven't done yet. Like Derby haven't done. And I know Sutty's been on, says Derby is rubbish, don't rush to get there. But, I'm on like 65 out of the 92 or something. So I've got to kind of chip away at it. But yeah, my birthday's on the 8th of March. We're just talking about birthday games. What's the closest game to my birthday, Rich? Because I haven't got the graphic in front of me.
Should I know what your birthday is?
The 8th of March. So what's the closest one to that?
So that is the day after Watford away, Vicarage Road. We mentioned Elton John and Ryan Reynolds maybe watching a game together when we had the owners on.
Yes, yeah, that'd be good. And then who else have we got in March?
Hull City at home, Swansea City at home, and then Sheffield United away as well.
Ooh. I mean, some good home games there, though, right? Like, again, by that point in the season, though, this is what I will caveat. So we're looking at the fixtures. Two things, subject to change. I expect Wrexham to be on a couple of Thursday nights, a couple of Friday nights, Sunday morning. That's another sort of Sunday after, Sunday midday. That's another sort of prime championship spot. Birmingham are going to be ripe for the picking. Leicester and Ipswich will be ripe for the picking. So those four teams, Southampton maybe as well, 5 teams there that I think will be picked a lot more than others, right? Sorry to Oxford United and maybe Hull City as well. But we saw in League One, didn't we? Wrexham were a different beast after January than they were before. So they were good before, and they had Elliot Lee up front with Ollie Palmer. But what got over the line was Rodriguez Smith. And,
Yeah.
what was at the start of the season wasn't Matty James. Matty James comes in, eventually is massively crucial. Ryan Barnett starts the season, doesn't by the end, right? It's different Ryan Longman. So I think it's all we can do now is look ahead and go, wow, we've got Swansea at home and Hull at home and Watford away. But the actual personnel we're looking at on June the 26th when we record this could drastically be different, right? Not only by the start of the season, but by the time we go to Watford and Elton John sat there going, I can't believe Rodrigo left Real Madrid for Wrexham. I can't believe that.
April then, and again, Nate, you mentioned that we've got some appetising home games, I suppose. You've got West Brom away, early April. I've never been to the Hawthorns. I've always looked forward to doing that. Southampton at home, the reverse of the opening day fixture, and then Birmingham away on the 11th of April. Final 4 matches. Again, I think they look like games where we could get points. Stoke City at home, back-to-back away games against Oxford and Coventry City, and then Middlesbrough at home on the final day. Who knows what that will achieve for Wrexham? Even if it's just a dead rubber, that's an achievement in itself, if it doesn't matter, hopefully. Yeah. Which one are you most looking forward to?
Well, Rich, I was going to say that I went on the radio. Maybe it's just the Slovakian air has made me slightly nauseous or whatever. But I went on the radio and said that Wrexham have been promoted at home every time, right? So, Boreham Wood at home, Forest Green at home, Charlton at home, right? So Middlesbrough at home, last game of the season. If everything went incredibly well, which neither of us are predicting or expecting that to happen, but we're at home again on the final day. So that is at least something for me to cling to in pre-season before it really gets sort of real and we get punched in the face by, West Brom on game 2 or whatever. Hawthorns is great. I did an England under 21 game there. Great stadium, Rich. You'll love that one. I was going to ask you, and maybe I'll give my answer after yours. If someone was coming over from abroad and wanted to do an away game, because they've heard us talk about away days and the culture and what it's like. Championship, you've got some massive grounds, and so we're going to have big allocations if we want them, if we fill them, which I expect we will, or we'll get close to. What sort of a way would you recommend if someone was coming over from the States or Canada or Australia or Philippines or wherever they were coming from in the world?
See, I do think that Norwich looks like a really good one again. I think when we went to Lincoln, an absolute just beautiful cultural city, one of the sort of maybe more underappreciated cities in the UK because a bit out. Norwich is especially not just a bit out of the way; it's very much out of the way, more difficult to get to. Not, it's got a lot of tourist attractions, but not your typical sort of I'm going to the UK. Oh, did you go to Norwich? So for me, I'd say Norwich City away would tick all those boxes. A really historic club as well. Unique that they play in sort of yellow and green. I know there's more teams that do so, but they've always kind of had that for me. They've always had quite wacky out there kits. Slight similarity as well to the Plymouth fan we had on last week, that every game is a bloody. London games are easier for them, but there's a lot of miles you've got to put in as a Norwich fan. So I think Norwich is the one for me that really just stand out. I mean, Millwall being an experience, I probably wouldn't wear your club shop merchandise if you go there.
Yeah, no, that definitely not a Millwall. That would be the advice. Please do not boldly wear your Wrexham gear around there, because that is Green Street in real life. That one there, unless you look like Vin Diesel, and then just sort of or any of these really tough guys, Jason Statham, just wear what you want, you'll be fine. One of my answers was going to be Charlton, just because that is a great away end, a great away day. London. Great travel, easy. Norwich is a great pick, very similar to Lincoln. But in terms of like pure footballing history, great stadium, great noise, great fans, I'm just going to go slightly away from Norwich and go to Ipswich. That is obviously going to be a massively oversubscribed game, but it's a big ground. They have been victorious in Europe, so Bobby Robson was a manager there. It's just a brilliant stadium, and very easy to get to from London, much like Norwich is. So we've kind of gone for Norfolk, Suffolk, and nailed our colours to the mast there. Probably better, but I don't know. Oxford as well might be another lovely day out. People will have heard of Oxford. So yeah, I know people are desperate to do away days, and we get questions all the time about maybe that'll be easier than a home game, right? Because we're going to lose that temporary stand and maybe some of these away tickets. If we get 5,000-6,000 allocation, that'll be better. So yeah, you're not going to be short on big allocations this time around.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to this season. Like we said, enjoy it. Let us know in the comments below as well if you're watching on YouTube, which game are you looking forward to the most? Maybe even which game are you looking forward to the least? So, Nath, it can't all be good news this week, maybe. We'll talk transfers now. A couple of rumours on players we could be in the market for. But should we start with the big transfer news? And sorry, Will Boyle, I do love you, but you're going to have to take second billing now because if you're watching on YouTube, I've got my Paul Mullin mask. I might wear it for this section, Nath. The man's gone on loan to Wigan. It's a really difficult one to gauge, isn't it? Because even when we put our tributes on social media, we had replies saying, he's not dead, guys. It's a 1 year loan. It's fine. But it does feel like the end of the Paul Mullin era, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look at the chairman's messages, right? Did those messages give you belief that he was going to pull on a Wrexham shirt again? It didn't give me that belief. It didn't give me that impression, right? So Ryan Reynolds really emotional, talking about he couldn't imagine Paul Mullin pulling on another shirt and couldn't imagine him leaving on loan. And yeah, we got some comments about how we'd misinterpreted what he said in the documentary about wants to play for himself, and that's totally fair. And I understand those comments and tried to respond to them as best I could.
Was this you kicking up a storm, or did I say it?
Me probably. I can't really remember.
Fine.
Probably me. But I would say that it's a shame. It's a couple of things. It's a shame. One, right? So he scored 100 goals, the living legend in our lifetime. One of the best players we've ever seen play for Wrexham. And we weren't as fortunate to see some of the greats. We have been fortunate to be living through this historic treble promotion. So every era's got defining moments. Would love to have seen us in Europe, but some of those who got to see us in Europe didn't get to see the 3 promotions. And we've already spoke previously about Arthur Massey not getting to see that that most recent promotion, right? So I'm very grateful that I get to see Mullin. We got to see him in his prime. We got his prime years, and I know he's good at Cambridge and elsewhere, but prime for us, 100 plus goals, in our top 10 scorers all time, like among the absolute greats. But you and I both know, Rich, that it was an untenable situation, right? Like it couldn't go on where every week it was like there's no Mullin, and you hear these things about was there any bust up and was there any fractiousness, and he mentioned about being frustrated and angry and resentment and all these sorts of things. And many months ago we mentioned Wigan was a potential landing spot, we purely based on the fact that Ryan Lowe and Paul Mullin get on very well, and that seemed a natural fit. They're lacking strikers, seemed like a natural fit, and so it played out. Eventually they got a loan deal. I'm led to believe 50-50 on the wages, no option to buy there, recall option in January. For me, just the way the reaction was, and I know you might say about the fact that maybe a lot of players didn't post their own sort of goodbye. Does that mean he's going to come back? Or I don't know. But I think the way Rob and Ryan posted their sort of goodbyes made me think that it was the sort of the closing of the book. The final chapter's already been written in a Wrexham shirt, and I just wish him all the best.
Yeah, it's just sad because we knew this day would come eventually, and I think we all envisaged that he would have had that chance in the Championship. I put on social media that I would have loved to have seen that, but he doesn't need that. He is already a Wrexham legend. He's already done beyond what we dreamt of when he signed. And like you said, for Wrexham to sign someone of that ilk, for me, that just gave it all so much validity. That really made me dream. It wasn't just, oh, we've got a bit of money now. We've signed someone who, for this level, was a superstar, was out of the reach of any other football team, was in his peak years, had so much to offer, so much to deliver, and delivered beyond those dreams. Wasn't just an exceptional football player, was an exceptional ambassador for everything. I remember having to go on TalkSport to defend his controversial boots, shall we say. Just everything he stood for. And again, we spoke at the time of that so many footballers and sports personnel get criticised for being so bland and robotic. Paul Mullin is the opposite of that. He has so much personality. He speaks his mind, and yeah, he's just done his family proud, and that's what he wanted to do. That's why part of the reason he joined Wrexham. You know, you might watch Cam Green and Dan Jarvis playing "Here Comes the Money," but hey, here comes the Mullin. He delivered more than that. He is a Wrexham legend. He will be welcome back at the ground anytime he hopes to, and just so much love for him. So many good memories. And Nath, what I kind of do want to ask you on a tangent to this is, we mentioned there is believed to be a January recall option for Paul Mullin. Seems very unlikely for me, I think, because I remember, I think we hypothesized this last year when Sam Dolby went to Dundee. He did very well there at Dundee United and didn't come back. What would have to happen, do you think, for Paul Mullin to come back to Wrexham mid-season?
That's the thing, right? If Mullin's got 12, 13 goals by January, and Wrexham, there's so much nuance to it though, because we're expecting Wrexham to go out and sign another striker, right? And are you and I in agreement that we're expecting Wrexham to go and sign a striker better or more sort of accomplished than Ryan Hardy?
Yes, for me,
right?
Like I said, I think Ryan Hardy's that Jake Hyde player. I think he's a great addition, but I still think we need a superstar striker up top.
Big up Jake Hyde, firstly, because I boldly went on this podcast and said that he would score more goals than Paul Mullin in season 1. So that was stupid. But there we go. He's a good lad. I'd just been at TST. Yeah, so we both expect that big sign is going to come in. And I think we both got pretty high expectations for Sam Smith, right? That he can rise up and do well at the level. Palmer to move on. You know, I'm expecting significant reinforcement put into the strikers. So by that logic, you know, if Wrexham are not scoring goals and Mullin is it then an obvious, like, yes, get him back? And that is the one thing, by loaning and not selling, you do two things. You give yourself that ability to bring him. He's lit it up in League One now. Wigan, he's flying, right? We want him back because Wrexham are 20th, can't score goals. Sorry to big brand new striker. You're on the bench. Jack Marriott's gone. Well, whatever the case may be, Mullin's back. But what it also does is every time he scores and every time Wrexham don't, why is Paul Mullin gone? Why did Parky not give Paul Mullin a chance? Yeah. I guarantee you now, every single time that he scores and Wrexham don't win or look light up front, and there were many times in League One where Wrexham looked like they didn't quite click up front. There was no mesh, right? Every time that he scores and every time Wrexham don't, that will be what you'll see on social media. And that will be what gets put to Phil Parkinson eventually. So I want Paul Mullin to do well. Of course I do. I want him to score a bag full of goals. I want him to win League One Golden Boot. But I don't want our season to be centred on what Paul Mullin's doing in Wigan.
Yeah. I think, again, that could happen. There's a hypothetical situation that could happen. But I then don't think that means that it was a bad decision either, because Paul Mullin needs to be playing and starting every single week, and he would not be doing that for Wrexham next season. He wouldn't. So no matter how well he does at Wigan, that is already a completely different case study. Pre-season as well is a huge thing. I'm really interested to see how well he is after a pre-season. And the other aspect I want to bring into all this, because I had lots of replies to my post saying, do you think he's championship quality though? Do you think he's actually good enough for the championship? And the answer is no. No one knows, because he's never played that level. And we are just not in the position to take that sort of risk going into the new campaign. That is why he's had to be loaned out, because he could prove himself to be a very, very good League One striker, maybe the best in the division, and eventually could be championship quality. But the problem is, you're asking me, is Paul Mullin championship quality? I've not actually seen any evidence he's League One quality yet. Like, bluntly, I haven't, because he's not done it. And that isn't saying that he isn't. He just needs to go and prove himself. He needs 6 months at the very least of being the guy again, being the main man, playing 90 minutes every single week, having a fan base who adores him, having that confidence back. And I'd love to see him back at Wrexham. But right now, the best thing for all parties is for Paul Mullin to be playing football every single week. And we just simply couldn't offer that next season.
It looked weird, though, didn't it? In the blue, like draped in the wig. It looked weird, didn't it? I
horrible.
thought.
And weird, Nate, because when I was like looking for a picture to post, we went to the DW. Was it in March maybe, or early April? And Paul Mullin was getting stopped by Wigan fans for autographs on the way in then when he was a Wrexham player.
Yeah, and he was in the away end, right?
Yeah.
For that dreadful game where, to be honest, if Wigan had Paul Mullin up front, they were 2-on-1, weren't they? At one point, they just had to flash it across, and that would have been. And so let's see, right? I don't know what to expect from Wigan next year. I'm sure that plenty of people listening to this have taken Paul Mullin into their hearts. They will be checking Wigan's results. They will be keeping an eye,
Oh, God.
as they did for Sam Dolby at Dundee United, right? And as they probably will for Sam Dolby at Bolton. Like, you do just keep an eye, right, on these players, not for forever, for the rest of their careers, but Mullin's still on the books of Wrexham. He's got 2 years left on his contract. There is no option to buy, as I say. So, look, from Wrexham's point of view, they're in a stronger position with Mullin than they were with Dolby. Dolby was loaned out. I think they loaned out Sam Dolby to expire the deal, and they probably didn't expect the return. No, I don't even think probably. They didn't expect him to deliver what he delivered, right? And then when they tried to get a contract in front of him to sort of retain some level of value, it was too late. The toothpaste is out the tube, and nothing you could do. He's leaving, and you've missed the boat. That's not going to be the case with Mullin. If Mullin is incredible in League One, you can make some money back. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. The funny thing there is, you just mentioned that Wigan game, and what I love is, because of the giddiness of fixture release day, there's going to be, you look at all those fixtures, like, every game's going to be 4-4, it's going to be made, there's going to be some disgusting matches in there. I was just thinking then, like, which one of those games is most likely to be 0-0? And there's probably a few candidates, but maybe we won't kill the mood too much there. Other exit, Will Boyle, Tyrone, close friend to both of us on the Manchester Pack. Sadly, is a Shrewsbury fan. He sent me a text yesterday just saying what to expect from Will Boyle, and made me have to sort of reflect on his career a bit, Nath, because Will Boyle was often the scapegoat. I know he got sent off against, was it Salford and MK Dons? He had the stinker at Stockport. Oh, Newport, sorry, yeah. He had the stinker against Stockport County in the 5-0. But if you look back to that League Two promotion season, he actually played a lot more than you'd probably give him credit for. Got some decent goals as well. And I always thought Will Boyle was a better player than he maybe got credit for. I feel like he got a bit of a calamitous reputation that didn't justify him too much. And yeah, sadly, do wish him all the best, even if it's at Shrewsbury.
I would say on Will Boyle, and this might be considered like patronising to players, but I think he just is a great person to have around a football club. I think that is a massive compliment, but players obviously want to get judged on their ability. But, you know, he's got a role with the PFA. He did a brilliant podcast. It was only a short one with his sister, Danielle. And I tweeted about that recently, where he talked about learning about things outside of football. And I actually think he's immensely valuable to a dressing room, to a locker room, whereby they are in disarray at Shrewsbury. They've gone down. They lost Gareth Ainsworth. You know, they haven't had a kind of a coherent vision for a while, and that comes from the manager. But experienced players like Will Boyle will help younger players who Shrewsbury may have to turn to now, right? So I think one thing that never came out, right, when Boyle wasn't playing for Wrexham, he was a complete non-factor by the end. You never heard anything about disruptive in training or down tools, or the amount of manager. Maybe it's just because I've been speaking to the coaching staff out here covering England, but there's two players, Ronnie Edwards, centre-back, and CJ Egan-Riley, centre-back. They haven't played a minute in the tournament, not a single minute in the whole tournament. And yet, those two always get picked out because they're setting the standards in training. They're keeping everyone motivated, and they're not sulking. And I know Will Boyle will get more of a role at Shrewsbury and more of a playing role, but you cannot underestimate what having good guys in the dressing room does for you in terms of culture setting. And so, yes, people might mock Will Boyle. We've been critical of Boyle occasionally. He is clumsy, as he's proved at Newport and MK Dons, but he's not. He's a professional footballer who is, operating at PFA level and a voice for many, many footballers. So, yeah, on and off the pitch in League Two, I think that's a really smart move for him and for Shrewsbury.
Yeah, so hopefully Shrewsbury get relegated and Will Boyle gets player of the season for them at the very least. Should we talk about transfer arrivals then, Nath? I know it's the exciting bit that people love, and that's why we put it at the end of the podcast. So you'd be retained and you'd listen to it all. Incomings then, did you expect us to have signing number 2 in by now?
I did. I expected maybe a couple more, to be honest. Need a few bodies in before they leave for Australia, and I'm sure they will do. I'm sure they will, but they're running out of time. Not much time really before they go off and jet off to Sydney or Melbourne. Melbourne, the first game, right? So, there's this thing where you want to keep the core of the squad, right? This is very quickly, and then I'll get onto some names I've heard and some transfer details. You want to keep the core of the squad that's got you there, because the defense was great, and people like Rathbone and Smith, we expect Longman, we expect those to kind of play a key role. McLean, even if he becomes kind of backup, he'd be still form part of it. But we both said on occasion multiple times that you need significant reinforcement to be at the top end of the championship, where Rob and Ryan said they wanted to be. Right? Didn't Ryan say we're going to be aggressive? So far, we've kind of given a light slap to the transfer market with Ryan Hardy, and I think we need to deliver a full-on knockout punch. What I've heard then on the grapevine, in the agency circles and whatever else, Harry Ashfield, people are asking me, is he going to go out on loan? I'm led to believe that Phil Parkinson is slightly reticent to that idea, and wants to have a look at Ashfield on loan. And I look at Ashfield in pre-season and get a feel for him, because is it one of those where he will just learn a lot coming on late in games and just being around a championship club? From what I gather right now, as of June 26th, there's no sort of urgency to get Harry Ashfield out on loan. Parky likes him a lot, and we like him a lot. He's shown flashes. One to watch there, though, because he will be with Wrexham on the preseason tour. Luke Bolton is another in that Will Boyle camp. It looks like a loan departure is more likely than a permanent. Again, maybe loan till expiry situation. So you really kind of want to find him a good home where he'll play and play to his strengths. And I don't know, Rich, is that a 3-5-2? Is that a wing back? Is that a winger? What do we think suits Luke Bolton the best? Davis Keillor-Dunn, he's come up a few times. Charlton are moving aggressively, I was told, for... I love when people say that, like moving aggressively as if they're sort of throwing hands in the boardroom. They are pushing for Keillor-Dunn. Wrexham retain an interest, but again, no formal offer been made there. Led to believe it'll be around 2.5 million, 3 million, what it'll take to get him out of Barnsley. Luton Town, obviously dropped into League One. They are also keen. Not sure what the future holds for Asgard, who only went there, was it January, from Wigan? Luton aren't so sure, and so Keillor-Dunn is potentially an option for Luton. They're hoping to be back end. So that's Keillor-Dunn, that's Luke Bolton, that is Harry Ashfield. But the main one that I wrote about this week, and that you probably want to talk about, Owen Beck at Liverpool. Great at Blackburn on loan last season, has admirers at Rangers and Derby County. Derby County now managed by John Eustace, who managed him at Blackburn. So you can see the link there. John Eustace loves him, wants to bring him to Derby. But Wrexham, from what I gather on the Liverpool end, are very, very keen to get Owen Beck. Now, the only snag on that is, as you've said many times, Rich, about loan moves, they're not often done very early, are they? Because Arne Slot, the Liverpool manager, wants to have Beck as part of the group for pre-season. Get a closer look at him. Their left-back situation, they've just gone and signed Milos Kerkez for 40 million, whatever it is. They've still got Andy Robertson. He could leave. They've still got Kostas Tsimikas. He could leave. So you've got Owen Beck there. I don't think Owen Beck will be part of Liverpool's squad, wider squad, really. But yes, you might have a bit more on Beck in terms of his background and everything. But Sheffield United are keen. Derby are keen. And it's funny, actually. Sheffield United have scouted him for months on end. And the Sheffield Star, I don't know if you saw this, Rich, the Sheffield Star wrote a piece saying how devastating it would be if Sheffield United missed out on a loan target to a team with significantly less stature at the top end of the English football pyramid. So no salt in those tiers there. But Owen Beck, Liverpool loanee, we mentioned about big loanees. Wrexham-born Owen Beck, I think, would be a brilliant signing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'd be a great addition. I think he's someone who's going to go and have a very fruitful career. I think he's going to be in the Wales senior setup at some point. I know he's played for us at under 21 level, and person who's a youngster from Flint, in northeast Wales, so very local to the area as well, part of that sort of Ian Rush dynasty. And I think he's just a player who's been ready to take risks in his career as well. I think when he was at Liverpool, he went to Portugal on a brief 6-month loan because he wanted to try experience a new culture, get himself out there, just try and adapt to a new situation. Obviously, he's had the time in Scotland as well. And yeah, I think there's a real opening now at Liverpool. Like you said, I still think they might just keep a look at him in the summer just to see what he's like and see how his progress is gauged, really. But they've just gone and bought one of the best left backs in world football. Like you said, they've got two very capable backup options there. It sounds like Andy Robertson's not going to Atleti Madrid anymore as well, so a bit more uncertainty around him. Owen Beck looks like a player who could leave. Looks like there's an opening there. He kind of reminds me of when Nico was at Liverpool, and there's that flirtation with the first team, but he never really cracked on. I know Nico Williams is at a further sort of development cycle than him. But yeah, I just think it makes so much sense, and it just ticks every single box. It's one of those transfers that you do on a sort of football video game, but you'd also do it in real life because it's hard to find a single flaw to that deal, I think. And we definitely need to get recruitment in that position. Like I said, the thing is, how do you actually sell it to him if there's more high profile clubs that are coming in for him? It's a tough one, but why not? Why not? And I guess for you, Nath, like we said, if you've got to wait further into the window for that one to take place, what do you do? Is that a case where the first couple of games of the season you might just not have your wing back cover in, and you take the risk that Owen Beck becomes available, or do you know what I mean? It's just a bit of a risk for Wrexham, isn't it?
It is, but Wrexham are very keen, and often you can struggle to get specific clubs stood up. As you know, we're not going to comment on clubs that are Wrexham are keen. I know that for a fact. I wrote that, and I think that counts for something. I was going to say, trust me. I feel like people need to trust that report wasn't just spin or like Wrexham are very keen on Owen Beck, and I think for him there must be appeal. I know you're saying how would you sell it to him. There must be appeal of coming back to the place you were born.
Yeah.
Chance to make Wrexham the highest ranked team in Wales, right?
Yeah.
It's been a long time, long before Owen Beck was born, that Wrexham were able to call themselves that. And I actually don't think the sell would be as hard, but he's going to look at it, probably sign a new deal at Liverpool before he goes out on loan wherever. You look
do you
at
think
Sheffield.
that, or do you think that there could be the sort of loan to buy or something? I mean, you not sell it to him that you're one step from the Premier League. I mean, I know his ultimate dream would be to play for Liverpool, but like I said, they've just gone and signed Kirkesh, so that kind of says you're not going to be overtaking him for a few seasons. You mentioned the links, and we've flipped roles now, which is quite funny. Ian Rush, great. He's the great nephew of Ian Rush, who obviously had that dismal time at Wrexham, one of the most disappointing signings in our history, but one of the greatest ever Welsh footballers. I actually think that maybe getting him on a permanent or a deal that includes a permanent opportunity further down the line isn't as hard as you say it is.
No, I would hope you're right. I just, from all the indications are that Liverpool would want him to sign a new deal before any loan was sanctioned. And, you look at it like this, right? Do we have a great track record with loanees? I would say no. Arthur was good, but I can't point to many other loanees. Sheffield United have a rich history with loan players, right? Raksaki, Gilchrist. They have Ryan Brewster permanent or loan. I can't fully remember, but they've been able to cherry pick players from the Premier League, and that's one of the big things that I hope comes out of the season for Wrexham and the next few seasons. That I want Wrexham to become a destination where Everton, Liverpool, any of the Manchester clubs go, you know what? You don't have to move far from your digs, and we want you to go there because the development will be good there, and that takes time to build up. But I want Wrexham to become. I don't look at loans like other people do. I know Swansea fans grumble a little bit that they've had. Did they have Mason Mount, or they had Conor? They didn't have Mason Mount. That was Derby, but they had Conor Gallagher. They've had Tammy Abraham. they've had some like really top level players on loan, and the gripe is, well, they're never ours to keep, and we're just building them for someone else. But they do deliver success. They deliver you playoffs. They deliver you promotion pushes, and so people like Owen Beck, if you can't get on a permanent, which I would hope you can, and as you say, I think loan moves are very smart at the Championship level. I've said it before. I'll say it a million times going through the season, but yeah, he's one that is very, very high up the list.
Yeah, again, loan moves just make me think of Anthony Spyro, but I'll point towards Ben Tollett, Kieran Morris, Brad Walker. Yeah, we've had some good loanees in the past, Nave. We might have been National League, we might have been WST, but we've had some good loanees as well. So maybe that's a feature for another week. Who's your favourite ever Wrexham loan signing? But yeah, that is all for another week of Rob Bryan Red then. We can start planning these Championship away days, maybe a few more vlogs along the way as well, and a little bit of transfer news for you there at the end. No doubt Wrexham will announce Owen Beck on a 7-year deal Friday morning by the time it drops, and he'll be in all 3 of our new kits as well. Thank you very much once again, Nate, for doing all the dirty work over there in Bratislava. It's a grueling task, isn't it? But like you said, this horrible summer heat will be over soon, and you'll be stood there in Swansea, wet through, wondering what you ever dreamt of.
Yes, and I would say thank you to everyone who's following on YouTube. The aim is to get to 5,000 subscribers as quick as we can. We're about a couple of hundred away, and we know that a large chunk of you watching aren't subscribed. So if you've made it this far, if you've actually made it this far, it's actually an obligation at this point to just click subscribe. If you've made it this far into the video, what are you doing? Get this week in, week out, the same yap every single week from the two of us. But to everyone who is subscribing and commenting, I'm trying to comment back as much as I can. And yeah, we really appreciate it. We say that every time, and it might sound cheesy, but it's true. We're both, aren't we, Rich, really pleased with how things have gone on YouTube. And I know it's grueling over here for me in Bratislava, but we love putting the content out for you. So thanks for all the support.
Yeah, no, thank you very much to all of you, wherever you are in the world. As always, thank you very much to Red 10 People Development for your continued support of the podcast. And thank you to Wrexham-based band Hypnotic for the music, The Stings as well. P.S. Happy 50th birthday, Will Sedworth. Take care, and we'll see you again next time.
A Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Bay.